and we are ready to have a great day in the Eagle's Nest today. So one of the things that we want to do is make sure that we are following the Fairview 5 in all that we do. We're actively listening to the speaker. We're number 2, we're keeping our hands and feet to ourselves. Number 3, we're cleaning up our area. Number 4, we're being kind to others with our words and actions. And number 5, we are doing our best daily. So as elite scholars in the Eagle's Nest, doing your best each day means that you are staying focused in the task ahead. And the task ahead for you for the next 6 or 7 hours is making sure that you are locked in with what you are doing inside of the Eagle's Nest and inside of your classroom. So you want to do that with integrity, excellence, and teamwork. So we're going to talk about those words over the next couple of weeks. And one of those words is the word integrity. That's the first word that we'll spotlight. But I just want to let you guys go ahead and know, right, what that definition of integrity means. It means you're doing the right thing even when you don't think anybody is looking, right? When you're walking to go get water. Remember, I said walking, not running. Walking to get water and back to your classroom, right? You're not taking a lot of time to go to the restroom and get back to classroom. All of these things are integrity, showing integrity that you are putting forth to the Fairview 5 and showcasing integrity each and every day. We'll begin talking about those words more in depth in the next couple of weeks here in the Eagle's Nest. But I want to get back to our text this morning before I cut you loose on separate is never equal. We are celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month here in the Eagle's Nest. We've talked about a couple of historic figures, but over the past week, we've been reading this text about Sylvia Mendez and her family's fight for desegregation. And just to do a quick little summary, because I know we didn't read this on Friday or Monday in the Eagle's Nest, but if we remember correctly, right, Sylvia was unable to go to her school. She had to go to a school that was designated just for Mexican families. And this is what the school looked like. And if you remember that word, the word was inferior. The school was inferior to the other school, meaning they didn't have as many resources. It wasn't as nice of a school. And Sylvia and her father and her parents thought that that was just unfair. That was Hoover Elementary School. So as we are reviewing, Mr. Mendez, remember, he would go around and try to get people to sign what was known as a petition, something that he wanted others to say, hey, we can do better than this. We should be allowed to go to the same spaces and the same schools as every other child, specifically white children. And this is when he met a lawyer, right? And if you remember, his lawyer was named David Marcus. And David Marcus said, hey, I think we should take this to court and really put this in front of the judge to see if we can get some things changed. So to be able to do that, he had to get more petitions signed. Remember this image right here? This is Sylvia's mom, Miss Mendez. She had to do all the work at the house. She had to take care of everything because Mr. Mendez was always gone, trying to get people to believe in what he was doing. Then he met Mr. Estrada, another family member, a like-minded person who was in the Army and thought that desegregation needed to happen because segregation was happening at that time. And so then it brought us all the way to the court case, right? Where Mr. Mendez was pleading his case. Sylvia was sitting in the audience. And remember, if you from Thursday, the superintendent of the school said, well, I don't remember this happening or this happening. And Sylvia was sitting in the seat saying, no, that did happen. Well, are you kidding me? She was saying it to herself. And so has that ever happened to you, I should ask, right? Where you're listening to something, you know it's not the truth, and you want to say something, you want to shout it out, but you just, you can't in that moment. And so with that, that's what Sylvia is going through, is she's sitting in the courtroom saying, wait a second, I know what my dad is fighting for. I know that it's the right thing to do, but they are lying about it right now. So let's see what happens with today. It says, for what other reason do you send children to the Mexican school, asked Mr. Marcus. Sylvia and her family braced themselves to hear what Mr. Kent would say next. For their social behavior, they need to learn cleanliness of mind, manner, and dress. They are not learning then at home. They have problems with lice and tuberculosis. They have generally dirty hands, face, neck, and ears. The Mendez family and others in the room stared at Mr. Kent in disbelief. What he was saying was not true. It was degrading. The word degrading, right, means that you're breaking somebody down in an unfair and unjust way. What the superintendent was saying was he was describing Mr. Mendez and Hispanic the Hispanic culture. And it was just very rude that he was doing that. And it was degrading. It was wrong. And so Mr. Mendez and Sylvia and their family were sitting in the courtroom, just kind of astonished and speechless, thinking that somebody would not only think this way, but also say these things. It continues. How many of the 292 children at the Mexican school are inferior to whites in personal hygiene? Asked Mr. Marcus. At least 75%. And in their scholastic ability, 75%. And what other respects are they inferior? Remember, that word means less than. In their economic outlook, in their clothing, their ability to take part in the activities at school. Do you believe that white students are superior to Mexicans in the respects that they have mentioned? Yes. And is that one of the reasons they are being segregated? Yes. Time and time again, Mr. Mendez had asked, why can't my children attend the Westminster School? Now he had his answer. So what Mr. Mendez was getting at here, and what the author is trying to tell us, is that the superintendent has this viewpoint, right, of children, of Mexican children, that they are not good enough and that they are inferior to white families and to white students. And that is why they would not allow them to come to Westminster School. And remember, Mr. Mendez asked this all the time. Earlier in the book, he would ask the superintendent, why can't Sylvia and her brothers and sisters come to the school? But he would never answer. Well, now he has his answer, because the superintendent does not believe that they were equal. Last page for the day. It says, on the second day, Mr. Marcus called to the stand a 14-year-old student from the Mexican school in El Modena. Her name was Carol Torres, sorry. She spoke perfect English. It was clear that she had not been sent to the Mexican school because she had problems speaking the language, is the defense the lawyers claimed. Mr. and Miss Mendez were questioned on the third and fourth day, and so was Mr. Harris, the superintendent of the Westminster School. Sylvia was not called to the stand, but she was ready to testify if they asked her to do so. She tried looking her best every morning, and she practiced what she would answer. On the fifth and final day of the hearing, Mr. Marcus called to the stand two education specialists to explain why it was bad to segregate children into different schools. They said, segregation tends to give an aura of inferiority. In order to have the people of the United States understand one another, it is necessary for them to live together. And the public school is one of those ways where all children of all the people go. The judge nodded his head, and he seemed to agree with this. So this is just a picture of the judge, and the judge is right up here, and he's listening to all of the different arguments from all of the different perspectives. So we're going to end today making an inference, right? And so an inference is when I make a guess based on what is in the text and based on what I know. And so the judge nodded his head, and it says he seemed to agree that desegregation needs to happen and segregation is wrong. So we will see, I'm going to make an inference that hopefully that judge is going to overturn this decision and give Sylvia and her brothers and sisters and all other children of Hispanic descent an opportunity to go to the same school as their white counterparts. So we'll see if that happens a little bit tomorrow as we continue. Separate is never equal. Hey, it is always a good thing. The theme that runs through this text the entire time is Fairview 5, number 4, right? Being kind to others with your words and actions. I'll leave you with this today. I'm going to be honest. It is very easy to tear others down. That's an easy thing to do. It is a hard thing to do, to uplift others, because you got to put somebody before you. And so I challenge you to put somebody before you today. Whether you're in kindergarten, 5th grade, you're 36 years old, 58 years old, it doesn't matter. You can always put somebody before you and be kind with your words and actions. That's your choice, and nobody can take that from you today. So make sure that you're choosing kindness today and every day that we are in the Eagle's Nest. Hey, I'm looking forward to seeing you in action today. Remember the Fairview 5 lanyards with 1 cards around our necks today, masks over our mouth and nose. You are an elite scholar, so act like it today, because it's time to get after it. It is 7:43. Teachers, it is now your time. Thank you for what you do today, and we are looking forward to seeing you in action. Have a fantastic Tuesday.